Some 5 or 6 years ago, over in the United States of America, a very talented chap took a pen out of his top pocket, a piece of paper out of his cupboard, and he produced a preliminary sketch of a football stadium. In the years that have followed, that rather basic, very good by the way, but rather basic drawing has grown, it's come to life, it's evolved into this. It was the brand new Everton Stadium. And the chap who produced that rather basic drawing was Dan Meis, and I'm delighted to say that he's here on site this afternoon with our Interim CEO Colin Chong. Dan, this has to be surreal, I suppose.
Yeah, well, magical is the word that always comes to mind. It just seems, even though it's been years and lots of people, it just seems like it appears one day. It's mind-boggling.
Is it how you envisaged it when you first got that piece of paper out?
Yeah, and again, it's one of those, it doesn't always happen that way.
No.
Very often, all kinds of conditions come up that can really make it difficult to realize a particular design, but it is very close to the original sketches and renderings.
Dan just said things can crop up that make things difficult. Ever a truer word spoken, Colin?
I mean, when you think about the journey that we've had, COVID initially, we were actually securing barges and procuring sand during COVID whilst completing the design. And then when you talk about hyperinflation, the war in Ukraine, I mean, it's a difficult enough job anyway to build a project of this scale and nature. But with those additional challenges we've had, we've done really well. Everybody has done really well to get it this far. And as Dan says, it looks exactly the way it should have done on the tin.
So in your mind's eye, is this what it looked like, Col, when you first saw the
very
drawings?
Early days, yes. Yeah. And in fairness to Farhad, in the club, we haven't watered down any of the components, the quality of the components. We haven't reduced any of the scale, size, and attributes within the stadium itself. It literally is. If you were to put a percentage on a concept drawing being 100%, and this, it's probably 95% of how we imagined it, in fairness.
At least.
And the other 5% are changes made mainly out of necessity more than anything else. So I've worked in this industry over 40 odd years, and I've built many buildings, and as Dan says, they very rarely look at the end the way they were envisaged at the beginning, but this one really does. Credit to everybody, spot on.
How does it feel, Dan? How does it feel like to be here today, looking at it? Is it emotional?
Oh, it's incredibly emotional, and I'm always overwhelmed by it because I feel very spoiled that and you talked about that original sketch, and sure, that's a part of it, but it takes thousands of people to make that happen, and so again, I feel like incredibly humbled to have the opportunity, and it's not just another building. This is one of those things that, besides all of the passion around a football club, the importance of this building to this area and to Liverpool, to the country for that matter. I mean, it's just incredibly humbling to be part of it.
You're vastly experienced in your field, Dan, but this has been a unique project for you. I know it has, because Everton Football Club's got under your skin, hasn't it?
Yeah,
every facet of the football club.
Yeah. Well, it was. I instantly became a fan. I learned very quickly what it was to be an Evertonian, and I've never had a project where I've been so involved and engaged by the fan base. And again, this is a building that is so unlike any other building. You build a tall office building or something, you don't have that. Everyone here feels they have some ownership of this, and that played out from the very beginning.
One of the first people I interviewed down here from Lango Rourke said it's one of the best locations, but also one of the most challenging.
Sure.
And you can see that point, can't you?
Yeah, and I mean, that wasn't lost on us from the very beginning. I remember early conversations with Farhad about you could have picked a much less expensive site to build on. I mean, just the challenge of filling a dock and making it buildable, that was hard. But in the totality of it all, to put this asset on the riverfront here, so close to the city center, it's a dream site from that perspective. And I think in the end, again, people will fall in love with that. And I think one of the things that Colin was talking about with what we heard from the fans, it's important to note people weren't hating Goodison. You know, I mean, it's hard to leave Goodison because there's so much history there, and of course it was tired and it had lots of challenges from the very beginning, but it wasn't an easy thing for people to get past the idea of leaving it, and so that's an incredible accomplishment if they can fall in love with this too.
Dan, I know you've seen lots of images of the bowl, the inside of the stadium. You looking forward to going inside and having a proper look?
Very much so. I had a conversation last night with a longtime seat holder that was asking me, how can you possibly recreate the noise and the energy of Goodison? And I said, just wait. You know, that again, I think it's something that it's going to be very surprising to people who've seen other new football stadiums, that the intimacy and the steepness of the bowl, the proximity to the pitch, that's where it's really going to, for everything we've talked about, you know, is great for the city. That's going to be great for the club and the players on the pitch.
Let's go and have a look.
Wow, look at that mat. Oh my goodness.
Okay, Dan, did you get the wow factor when you first walked in?
Yeah, it looks like we're not far from playing football. It's very exciting. The thing that hits me more than anything is that it just feels like a proper football stadium. You know, there's a lot of new buildings become about so many things other than what's going on the pitch, the clubs and the suites and the VIP seating, and you don't get that sense here. You really get the sense that it's all about the fans and the players on the pitch, and that's going to be really exciting.
As Dan says there, Colin, it does look as if we're almost ready to play football on it, but there's still a bit of work to do.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of work to do still. In construction terms, got to get all the commissioning activities complete, got to do some life safe testing. We have 3 football test events as well that we need to plan in for the early in the new year. Training of all our staff, familiarisation, so there's a whole lot of work to be done, and not forgetting we've got to transition people from Goodison Park over to here in a sympathetic manner as well. But from a construction perspective, you know, we're nearly there now. Langs will be done in a few months' time, and then we come in and do our bits. So be excited about getting the keys, but also the task ahead of us is still quite daunting. There's a lot of work to be done.
While you've been over here on Merseyside, Dan, I know 1 or 2 fans have been asking you about the atmosphere at the new stadium. When you look around here, I don't think that's in doubt, do you?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's a natural thing for people to worry about, because obviously Goodison is a pretty special place, and you know, it's hard to recreate that sort of historic intimacy that you have in an older building. But so much of the attention here in the design was about making sure that we were right on top of the pitch and very steep stands, which we've pushed to the ultimate limit we could. And I think you can feel it. It's I think people are really going to be shocked. It's going to be loud.
All the focus, Colin, is on making this a football stadium for Everton football fans, but as we progress down the line, it could become a little bit more than that.
Yeah, there's a natural way to commission a football stadium. Football first. This is a genuine, authentic football stadium, as Dan said. You know, that's its primary purpose, but we will be able to utilise some of the facilities here, you know, 365 days a year, and we will be doing that. It may well be an incremental basis, but we'll at some point, very quickly, we'll get to a position where events are taking place here, either concerts or, you know, just even the restaurants that we'll have here will be used every day of the week. So I'm looking forward to seeing this building being used far more productively than we can use Goodison Park. Just the economic opportunities that the stadium presents to us is something we've not got at Goodison Park, and we wouldn't be able to get if we tried refurbish Goodison Park in a phased approach. This is, you know, a complete game changer for Everton, but yeah, definitely a platform for growth.
By your own admission, you've been emotional at times today coming over from the States to have a proper look at the stadium. Have you allowed yourself to consider how you're going to feel when the teams walk out and there's 50,000 people in here?
Yeah, it's going to be breathtaking. no doubt. And the thing that I really enjoy is that it's breathtaking to everyone else too. And again, this is one of those things where I think a lot of the fans are going to feel like they came along for this ride. And they had an impact on it, in so many ways, whether it was through a tweet or the public consultations or, a lot of people, they've really had a voice in this. And seeing the kids that will come here that first day and the noise and the impact on the players, all of that will be, very moving. Yeah, the roar the first time the players come out here, it's just going to be quite something.